Laura's stereo.
So, it's basically everything Laura's apart from the things in the bathroom. That might be the case. So does the zippered pouch? No,
There are sufficient funds
in there at the moment. Good to know. I'm really confused by this because I would have thought... Surely there's got to be a newspaper somewhere. Or some way of finding out the correct date. Time of these incidences. No. Samantha saw Laura at the top of the stairs. She was wearing the white dress. Laura physically touched me this morning while I showered. Her hand touched me and moved. Its life lasted about 3 seconds. Appointment.
I arranged to see Dr. Ramuskin today. I'm hoping he'll have some insight into the events with Laura. I arranged...
Yeah. RNG. Repeat memory exercise for a new session with Laura. Use one of Laura's favourite places for inspiration. Timmins Park. We got Ramuskin coming. So hopefully he'll give us a time of things that have occurred.
I don't need to call right now.
Okay.
David.
No, I'm...
You're not fine. Don't lie.
You were with Laura and me since our marriage. What would you say were some of Laura's favourite places?
Oh, she loved that chair up in your bedroom. She'd have to have tea curled up there with a book. Oh, and the back garden.
I mean further out, not the house.
Your cottage at the lake. Oh, and that park. Timmins. The one that she did all the watercolours off. Oh, Lord, she loved that place.
Timmins, of course. Thank you.
Glad that we've all figured that out. Let's have a look at the watercolours. Maybe something else will pop up from having looked at them.
Timmins Park. Laura loved the place. Might be a good spot to try to recreate a memory today. Surely it won't be crowded on a dreary weekday. Laura's paintings of...
Okay. Are we going to leave the house? Dun dun dun! We're leaving the house. Are we alright? Let's then... go to Dr. Ramuskin.
Dr. Styles, it's very good to meet you.
Sorry to disturb you.
It's an honor. I remember when your Scientific American article came out, my colleagues and I were thrilled to see such open-mindedness in a leading neurobiologist.
As you can see, things have deteriorated since then.
Please, come inside.
I'm already inside.
On the phone, it sounded important.
One thing you learn as a neurobiologist is that reality is subjective.
No, it isn't.
Like the story of the blind man and the elephant. One of my patients had a brain tumor and became convinced his wife was an alien in disguise. Everyone else saw an everyday housewife. He saw something horrible. What clues do we pick up from our environment every day that tell us how to perceive the world?
That's not reality, that's perception.
One man sees a pile of logs, another a sleeping giant.
Perception is a slippery thing.
But that's not reality.
My wife, Laura, died in 2002, but the reality I chose was to keep her alive.
In your memory.
In my mind and in my heart.
Yeah, your memory.
I started experiments in an isolation tank to bring back as many memories of her as possible, even the small and subtle ones. And I didn't give a toss what anyone thought.
Yes, that's a response to grief.
The thing I didn't foresee was that Laura might actually come back.
I've suddenly got quite a chill. Perhaps you'll start from the beginning while I light the fire.
No fire, please.
Oh, please forgive me. I'll call for some tea. I'm quite anxious to hear what you have to say, Dr. Styles. If you'd start at the beginning, please. It sounds fascinating. I've never performed any experiments with an isolation tank myself, but they may well concentrate certain energies. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. And I'd be very interested in your theories on the phenomenon, as a neurobiologist, if you'd be so kind.
Right. Psi and trauma.
In cases that you're familiar with of hauntings, is it typical for the deceased to obsess over their deaths?
I'd say so, particularly if it was violent.
Laura keeps communicating about the accident, but I'm not sure if there's really something there or if she's just fixated on that moment out of shock.
I know you'll leave no stone unturned finding out. If there's nothing to it, it will be clear soon enough.
Yes, of course.
Fire.
Is there any connection between psi activity and heat or fire?
Yes. Telekinesis in particular is very elemental. There's a classic poltergeist case that involved a young girl in the American heartland. The manifestations in her household all revolved around water. Water running down the walls of the house, seeping out of the wallpaper, and welling up from the floors. Another classic telekinesis phenomenon is raining stones. And I recall reading about a shaman in East Africa who could make his victims burst into flames. It would all suggest that telekinetic powers are drawn from the earth. But I'm not aware of any studies done on the subject.
Okay. The shaman.
Can you tell me more about the East African shaman?
I'll tell you what I remember. It's a well-documented case from the early 1900s, researched by a member of the Society for Psychical Research. He was traveling in Africa when he ran across this shaman. He put the man through a variety of tests and reached the conclusion that the shaman was projecting electricity at strong enough levels to literally start fires, predictably and reliably. This notion seemed confirmed by the odd fact that when the shaman was wet, his fire-starting ability didn't work. Of course, in those days, experiments in electricity were all the rage, so you have to take that into consideration. Still, he made a compelling case.
Okay. Psi and neurobiology.
Studies done with dying and comatose patients have provided some interesting clues about consciousness. There are authenticated cases of the mind projecting itself from the body, witnessing things that occurred far away. If the mind can project itself from the body, then it's possible for consciousness to survive physical death.
Do you have a scientific explanation for how that might work?
Quantum theory suggests that three-dimensional space and time are essentially created by the brain in order to organize the masses of data that make up reality.
I
The
don't
brain
think that's
operates
quantum.
like a translation device, in the same way that a television set organizes bits of electronic data into an image. If the human brain creates space and time, then theoretically the brain could project the mind into the past or future, making itself essentially immortal.
That's astonishing. I hope you intend to publish on this theory.
I'm still conducting my research.
Fairly sure that's not quantum theory. Quantum is about very small particles, not about the nature of the universe. Arguably, you could say string theory, maybe, considering string theory is the three observable dimensions, but then it's only those observable dimensions, they're not a construct of the brain, those are the three observable dimensions, plus time, plus another 20-odd dimensions that are wrapped up into a tiny little ball. At least that's how I remember it being explained at university, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention. That's entirely plausible. I've got a book on string theory, I should read that. I have many books that I need to read. Similar hauntings, and then we'll get to incidents on campus.
Have you heard of any similar hauntings, for lack of a better word?
Some of the elements, such as the way Laura communicated with you in the tank and the RNG message. These sound like classic communiques from the spirit world. But other things you've described, the moved nightgown, the form under the sheets, and most particularly the events at the university, those sound like PK activity, telekinesis, objects being moved with the power of the mind. Are you positive all these manifestations are Laura?
Of course. One paranormal source is remarkable enough, much less two different ones. Don't you agree?
You have a point.
And about these incidents on campus?
I'm wondering if the events on campus aren't some kind of psychic residue from Laura's attempts to come through. If she's generating energy, it might get channeled in unpredictable ways.
I can't say, of course. But the energy involved in the campus events is so unusually powerful. It's unlike any spiritual communication I've ever heard of.
But you said yourself you've never dealt with a case that involved an isolation tank.
True. True. I'm quite curious to see where this is all heading, Dr. Styles.
Interesting.
Thank you for your expertise, Doctor. There's one more thing. I was hoping you could give me some advice on how I might help Laura. Help her come through.
Dr. Styles, I'm not sure what you mean by coming through. Earthbound spirits are trapped here because of some unresolved trauma or an inability to accept their own deaths. The goal in such a scenario is to free the spirit so that he or she can move on.
Move on? To what? Oblivion? I mean, what if Laura could be brought back?
But what body would she inhabit? How could she interact with our world? All religions believe that there is some kind of afterlife and...
Yes, thank you, Doctor. I'm afraid it's getting quite late. I must go.
I do hope you'll keep in touch. I'd like to know how this develops.
Of course. Good day.
Goodbye.
And we will return. Hoping for a bit more detail on that. We can now go to Timmins Park. Okay, so we've finished that. That was quick. A day in the rowboats. That'll be the park. Haven't done it before. Experiment. Is there anything in here? Try the kitchen.
David.
No, I'm...
Oh no, I can't talk to you anymore. No. No. And I don't know why I'm coming down here, because here's the thing, is I don't know what time it was. And I think maybe I'm meant to have picked that up, but I don't know why. Like, when I asked about the campus, why not give me the time? I'm confused. Session 1, yeah. How long did this go on for? I think it's probably not going to have any kind of major effect until we know exactly what time we're going for. So I'm just kind of like zoning out and not really looking, and hopefully something will just, as I click through, something will... Oh, does this go around in a circle? Yeah, it goes, okay. So there wasn't anything there. So I'm assuming... Yeah, if you got it over every... I don't even know what this represents, actually, because it's all basically... It's the same. Nothing's changed.
That's about what That's about what...
Yeah, so we're looking for, like...
Nothing unusual.
Yeah, it's...
That looks right.
Maybe something that's unusual. And the problem is, I don't think anything unusual happens. I think they basically just cycle through, don't they? Yeah, so this is just moving along. So it looks like there's no... Well, let's look at session 2. But I'm assuming the same basic thing's going to happen anyway. I think we need to know the exact time when something happens. So that then we can go to that time and that'll do. Which, you think, like, okay, I've got 30 minutes worth of data, so it's not a huge amount. But, I mean, you are scrolling through it, so you have to watch it. That's disappointing. I'm also quite disappointed that I can't just look at the time. Like, there isn't a newspaper around. Do you think there'd be a newspaper around just to say, give you the time? But maybe I've got to go to Timmins Park and find out what happens. And maybe that will give me a bit of insight into what's going on. I don't know why I did that. Timmins Park.
Look, Mummy, it's a monster. Shh, sweetheart.
Wow.
was a bit harsh. Entry plaque.
There's nothing on the park's schedule for today. Good, that means fewer people.
Fewer people crying, "Monster! Monster!" Main track.
I remember the park, but it's quite vague. Where should I go?
Oh.
The main track is down there. I remember the park. This way.
Lake. Boathouse. I mean, it says boat on the thing. I'm over here.
£3 an hour. Lucrative business.
Is it? Go down the paved path. We'll ignore these guys at the moment. Gardenia Garden. Hello. There's a person.
The river has dried up with time.
Oh. Was this the fountain, was it? Oh dear, it's them again.
Laura loved that fountain. We sat on that bench for hours. Laura was the only person who could ever convince me to relax.
So we go down to the playground. Park Bridge.
Laura loved that. We sat on...
Where does that come back? Oh, is this the main track? Ah, it is the main track. So where's this other route go? Or is that just one of the things we can look at? Might just be something we can look at. Oh, we can go to the playground. We could talk to people. Oh, so I can go to the garden. What? I can't talk to you. I have no idea what I'm doing. What? This did not link to the fountain. Maybe it does. Actually, maybe it does from the other side. Right, okay. There's a lot of things going on that I don't... The map is there because you can't see everything on one screen, whatever. But I think I'm going to put the curtain here. So next time we're going to try and find the right place, which might be out on the little lakey thing, potentially. But that will be next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.